Shalom, everyone. This is Shamir coming to you again with another short lecture. Needless to say that this is a lengthy topic, but we can't cover all aspects here. So this will give you opportunity to do your own research. One thing about the Bible is it's very multi-layered, so we can find many topics within a section pointing to many different things from the Tanakh or Hebrew Bible. So today we're just going to look at the hanging or crucifixion on a tree. We're going to look at it as a cultic event, but also the parallel between Abraham and Yitzhak. Okay, so this section covers part one of understanding how the crucifixion lines up with the sacrificial system in the Torah, or how we can see it that way. Okay, so we have materials for the sacrifice and also a parallel. We have Genesis 22:6. Vayikach Avraham et atzei ha'olah vayasem al Yitzchak. Okay, Yitzchak is Isaac. And then we have the word ha'olah. Now, oftentimes in English we don't really see a differentiation between words that are used for different types of offering. This is an olah offering, which is related to the word Allah. Allah means to go up. Right, so this is an offering that is burned completely and ascends upward in smoke. Generally, I don't translate this word. I like to leave it as olah, and I recommend my students to do the same. Vayasam, and he put or set it upon Yitzchak. Okay, so then we see a parallel to this in John 19:17. Vayisa et seluvo, and he took up his cross, you say, or his wood for his offering, as Yeshua is going to be laid out as a sacrificial offering. This word sade lamed bet is actually Aramaic, not Hebrew. From the Mishnah, it's related to the Hebrew word tala, which means to hang. Okay, moving forward. And then we have the place of sacrifice and the arrangement. So again, here in Genesis 22:9, Vayavo'u el hamakom asher amar lo ha'elohim. So, and they came to the place that God told to him, to Abraham, to go. Vaya'aroch et ha'etzi, and he arranged the wood. Vaya'akod et Yitzchak, and he bound Yitzchak beno al hamizbeach me'ol la'atzim. So he bound him and he set him upon the altar, upon the wood. So then we see that this place is a place that God has chosen for the sacrifice, right? Now we come to John 19:17. Vayetze al hamakom hanikra Galgota vayitz levu oto shama. So Vayetze from Yud Sade Aleph is the same as Vayavo, or similar connotation, and he went out and they came. So he went out to the place that is called Galgota, and he was crucified, and they crucified him there, Shama. There's also something about being led away, Yeshua being led out of the city, or if you think about in the camp, according to the instructions of the Torah, So in Numbers 15:35, we see Regom Oto va'avanim kol ha'edah michutz lamachane. So they stoned him with stones, all of the congregation, probably of witnesses, because the word edah is related to ed. Ed is a witness to a crime or something, or testimony. Michutz lamachane, outside of the camp. So Yeshua is led away to this place that was chosen. Wasn't led to some random place, just like Yitzchak was taken to a particular place that God had chosen. So then we see the same in John 19:17. Okay, and then we have blood and water. So Leviticus 14:6 gives us this picture. There are many pictures. This is just one of them. Et hasipor hachaya yikach ota, and he will take the living bird, the etz ha'erez, the et sheni hatolaat, the et ha'ezov, the taval utam, the et hasipor hachaya bedam hasipor al hamayim hachayim. Sorry that my picture is blocking the last word there. So anyway, well, we get the idea. So this sheni hatolaat. So this is the crimson word. Crimson worm. Sorry, my writing board is not working as efficiently as I would like at the moment. So in order for this to be the crimson worm, I hear kind of a lot of talk about that, it has to be qualified by sheni. If it's not, the tola'at is a worm, so if you read it in a part of the Bible where you don't see sheni, it most likely is just talking about a worm or some kind of maggot. So erez is cedar, and ha'ezov, that's the hyssop. Taval is like a cultic term, so they were dipped them, the living bird, and the blood of the bird. That was the word behind this little frame is that had been sacrificed or slaughtered, and then so it's dipped in the blood and then placed over hamayim chachayim, living water. And we've heard that before, right? In the New Testament, yes. And then we come to John 19:34. The echad me anshe hatzava. So one of the men of the army, dakaro v'chanit, stabbed him with his spear, betzido, in his side, vayetze dam v'mayim. So again, we see this whole picture of water and blood, speaking of the spirit, and then in Deuteronomy 15:23, get another idea. Rach et damo lo tochel. Only his blood you will not eat. Al haaretz tishpechenu kamayim. So on the ground or land you will pour it out like water. So we get a lot of blood, water pictures in the Tanakh, and we see that same picture is here with Yeshua. Okay. Now that we very briefly, now that the sacrificial part of the offering has taken place, and we very briefly have looked at that, high priest must bring the blood of the sacrifice into the Heavenly Mishkan. Now, in English, you use the word like tabernacle or temple, but I find those terms troublesome, and they kind of take away from the Hebraic idea of what's being said. So Mishkan is dwelling place, or you have Hakodesh, the holy. We say the holy place, but when you see it in Hebrew, it just says the holy. And the blood, and pour the blood out onto the mercy seat. So the Heavenly Mishkan, this is an essential part of expiation from sin, and without it, there would be no salvation. This means that the sacrificial death on the cross or alone was not the complete process. Everything must be done in accordance with God's word, God's instructions in the Torah that were provided for the earthly priests concerning atonement. So Yeshua death also has to follow this pattern. So the death on the sacrificial death, that was the first significant part, and then the next, it's really like 3 parts. So the first part is the sacrificial death. The second part is kippur. It means he atoned, but for now, for simplicity, we'll just say atonement. So this is the next significant part of bringing that blood into the Heavenly Mishkan. So here, the Mishkan in the heavens. So here we have Hebrews 9:11 through 12. And just as a disclaimer, the word Hebrew is actually a Greek word. It's not a Hebrew word. Ivrit is the Hebrew form, and this is the form that you find in the Tanakh, and it means the ones who have crossed over, ha'ivrim. It's really a verbal noun. If you look at it as a verbal noun, it means the ones who have crossed over, and we see that idea over and over again, right? The children of Israel crossed over to the other side of the Yarden or Jordan, and so there's all kinds of implications and thoughts concerning that. So, Aval HaMashiach bevo'o lihiot, but the Mashiach, when he came to be, Kohen Gadol, the great priest, a great high priest, Latovot Ha'atidim, not of of events to come. Avar, see then we have this Avar again from, remember, Ivrim is actually spelled with Ayin Bet Resh, the Mishkan Gadol, so he crossed over in the great Mishkan, U Mushlam Yoter, more perfect, She'eneno Ma'aseh Yadayim, so not made with hands. And when we see this word Ma'aseh, or made, you immediately think back to all the work that was done, because this is the word that is used to describe those who were going to do the work on the Mishkan, the earthly Mishkan. Klomar, that is to say, she'eno shayach la beria. I have some of my notes here. I have to use, so shayach is need to, so there is no need, or is not belonging. This is the idea, shayach, to belong to this creation. So we have this word la beria. The verbal form is bet resh aleph. Okay, so it's bara. So this word is usually only associated with God, creating from nothing. It's not associated with man. Like, see this word ma'aseh. So the verbal form is asa. So you just cross out the mem and change the vowels. So that verbal form is usually associated with God and humans, but bara is only associated with God. So the idea here is that not of this creation. So la beria hazot, not of this creation, meaning this created world that God himself made, this Mishkan Gadol is not part of that creation. Okay? Uvedamo hu, and with his blood he, velo bedam se'irim va'agalim, so not with the blood of sheep and goats, niknas echad el hakodesh vehisig, that that next word under that little thing is pedut olami, so excuse me, redemption forever, or eternal redemption. Pedut is redemption. Pei dalit hey is the verbal form, to redeem or ransom. Sorry for the cut off of the some of the text on the bottom. And then we go to Exodus 24:8. Vayikach Moshe et Hadam. All right. Well, actually, let me backtrack just 1 second. So, Yeshua, he brought his own blood into the Mishkan and poured it out on the mercy seat. So that's the part 2. So we say this is part 2. Part 1 was the sacrifice on the cross, right? And then we have the testimony of the blood and the water. Now we have part 2 where Yeshua, he's the great high priest now. He's bringing his own blood into the Mishkan, right? Avar, crossover, this word crossover has so many ideas we can't even go into, but... And then the last part, we see in Exodus 24:8, Vayikach Moshe et Hadam, Vayizrok al ha'am, Vayomer inei dam habrit. Right? Asher karat Yahweh, or if you want to say Yahovah or Adonai, Imachem al or Yud He Vave, whatever. I'm not a sacred namer, but anyway. Imachem al kol hadavarim ha'ele. So Moshe took the blood and he threw it on the people and he said, behold, blood of the covenant that Yahweh cut with you according to all these things or all these words. Okay, so now that's part 3, right? Part 3 is that now the people are sprinkled, and so now the covenant begins. It didn't begin, it started with the sacrifice. It continued when the blood is poured inside the Mishkan into the Holy of Holies, and it ends finally with the people being sprinkled, and that brings them into the covenant. And then, of course, we read Matthew 27:28, Ki zeh dami, for this is my blood, dam habrit. So we see that already, dam habrit, very exciting, guys. And we see it here, blood of the covenant, hanishpoch, the blood being poured out. And then we saw this word also already when talking about the blood being poured out on the ground. So this is the same word, just a different form. Ba'ad rabim, on behalf of many, lichat chataim, for the forgiveness of sins. So part 3 is that when we come to Yeshua, he is the great high priest. He has made atonement for us in the holy place, and then he sprinkles us with his blood for forgiveness of sins and to bring us into covenant with him. Okay, so in short, very short, that is a very abbreviated understanding of what has taken place, but there's so much more. And lastly, study to show yourself approved, right? So this is going to be my spiel on why it's important to study Hebrew. Of course, I'd like you to come study with me, but just to study in general, to have somebody helping you to understand the language. It's really so important, and there's just things that you're just not going to see with the English. Just not going to happen. And lastly, so you can, if you're interested in learning Hebrew with me, you can go to my Linktree page, and this little slide has a little bit of information. You can take a year course or a seminar course, which is just a 1-hour session covering any topics from the Hebrew alphabet to the adjectives to nouns. So you have some options, and of course you can contact me anytime, even if you're not studying Hebrew, you just have a question, please feel free to email me. You can find all that information on my Linktree page. Then you can click on Transformed by Hebrew, so on Instagram or Facebook. And last but not least, Tamid Kadima, always forward, right? We always want to be going forward in God. And we always want him to be revealing himself to us. And we're entering into his holy season now. We have Yom Teruah beginning tonight here in Israel. and the 10 days of Awe and Yom Kippur and Sukkot. So it's a very exciting time for us who have returned, and just pray that your time in this season will be blessed, and that God will open your eyes and reveal many good things and new things to you and to me. So go your way rejoicing. Chag Sameach, and until next time, see you soon. Bye-bye.